This is the fountain of youth for your body and for your health. No magic pill, no magic potion, no lake or river in India or Siberia or Spain or nothing crazy like that. So accessible, so easy, so simplistic, and so right in your face, even though you've never thought about it and it hasn't been marketed that way. But the fountain of youth for you, your body, your health, your longevity, your energy, everything, all the above, is lean muscle and strength training. Now you're probably looking and you're probably wondering, like, how does that tie into youth? How does that tie into feeling younger? How does that tie into being younger? Like, how does that tie into my longevity? How does that tie into my quality of life? Well, we're going to break that down. I'm going to show you exactly and break down exactly how having more muscle, prioritizing muscle, strength training consistently, how this lends itself to a younger feeling and looking you that is able to be at prime and peak performance for a longer period of time. That's always the mission. That's always the goal with our podcast and with our newsletter. Is like, everybody always talks about, oh, back in my prime, back in my heyday. Well, when I was in high school, when I was in college, like everybody's best days in terms of their body, their health, the way that they felt, their overall performance, everybody's best days seem to be behind them. Who do you know currently that isn't in high school or college that would say that they're in the best shape of their life? Probably nobody. And the fact of the matter is that does not have to be the reality. You can be 35, 55, 65 and still be in peak physical condition. And this doesn't mean that you're extremely skinny or slim. It doesn't mean that you restrict food and that you barely eat. Like, you can do this in a way where you're fueling yourself, where you feel great, like your energy is high, where you're not working out all the time. Like, you can do this in a very sustainable way, but it's all about dipping into that fountain of youth, which is going to be building and preserving lean muscle. Now, before we dive into this, every Friday we got a guide coming out helping you do exactly this in our newsletter weekly. So you can click the first link down in the description, check that out, and sign up for that so that you get guides not only this Friday, but every single Friday afterward, helping you be in prime and peak condition, within your body and health. So muscle being the fountain of youth, how exactly does this work? How does this make sense? How is this something, because I'm sure that you've talked about or talked with people or kind of had this mantra, this mindset around the word muscle in itself. It's for bodybuilders, it's for athletes, it's for if you want to look a certain way, like if you want big muscles in your chest or your biceps and your glutes and whatever the case may be. Like, that's how we've always associated muscle within the fitness space. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to do in this podcast and with our newsletters is kind of change the direction of what we think of muscle as, because we only really think of muscle as either a superficial thing or we think of it as something that can improve like athletic performance. And both of those are true. You do typically look better. Obviously, looking better is subjective. You tend to look better when you have more muscle in your body and less body fat, and you definitely perform better up to a certain extent. So obviously those things are accurate, but what muscle has not been talked about in terms of the certain spaces in the health space is longevity. Nobody's talking about muscle as a way to improve your quality of life. Nobody's talking about muscle as a way to extend the years of your life. Nobody's talking about muscle as a way to just assist in the day-to-day things that you're doing every single day and just in how your body feels every single day. And that's what we're going to dive into, because one of the biggest and best ways to lose weight, everybody wants to lose weight. You want to lose some stubborn fat, drop a few pounds, whatever. Like, we are so obsessed. If you're listening to this in the US, I'm referring to we. I'm sure other countries are like this, but the US is one of the biggest. We are so obsessed with losing weight. We're so obsessed with dropping stubborn belly fat. We're so obsessed with getting down another dress size or another pant size. Like, the concept of weight loss has been so ingrained into all of us. I think that all of us feel like we need to lose weight at any given time. Even if you feel good, you always feel like, oh, I could lose, 5 or 10 pounds or whatever the case may be. Like, the concept of weight loss has been so ingrained in us that that's kind of all we think about when it comes to working out, when it comes to eating healthy, whatever the case may be. But I want you to shift the narrative from trying to lose weight to trying to build and preserve lean muscle. The reason being is because the process of building up lean muscle is going to increase your metabolism to the point where you start dropping body fat anyway as a byproduct. So that means that as you're strength training consistently, 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week, you're strength training, you're building up muscle throughout your entire body. You're burning calories during the workout, you're burning calories during recovery. And then once that new layer of muscle is tacked on, you're burning more calories at rest just due to that muscle being built, as opposed to if you just did like straight cardio. If we're in the mind of weight loss, and this is why it's so important to really focus on what mind frame you're in, what concepts you're thinking about when you're in the middle of your fitness journey, when you're trying to start something up. Because if you're just thinking weight loss, then you're going to do a bunch of cardio, you're going to go running, you're going to do a bunch of walking, all these different things, and you're going to eat very, very low amounts of food, and you will lose weight. You will accomplish the goal. If you want to lose 30 pounds on a scale, you will lose 30 pounds on a scale doing that. But what happens is the majority of that 30 pounds that you lose is going to be lean muscle, and losing lean muscle lowers your metabolism. It lowers your metabolism and it increases your body fat percentage. So what this means is you lose that 30 pounds, and now the same amount of crazy activity that you used to get there, walking, running 6 days a week, whatever, the crazy low amount of food that you ate in order to get there, eating 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 calories a day, no longer will lose you weight. So now you're in a position where just to maintain the skinny fat version of you that you have just created, you now have to run 6 days a week and you have to eat 1,000 calories a day. The first time you stop running 6 days a week and the first time you eat more than 1,000 calories a day, guess what? The weight's coming back. It's not a sustainable long-term approach to attempt to lose weight, especially not with these methodologies. But what is sustainable is strength training and progressively overloading. Squats, deadlifts, bench press, lunges, whatever the case may be. You can get stronger in all of these for the rest of your life. You can do them for the rest of 3 sets of 10. You can do 3 sets of 10 for the rest of your life. Add weight, add time, pause, whatever the case may be. Extend your range of motion, shorten your range of motion. Like, there are so many different avenues that you can take strength training through and continue to build up lean muscle, or at least preserve it for the rest of your life. And that's going to give you that metabolism uptick, which is extremely important for your health and longevity. And it's also big for metabolizing sugar. This is one of the biggest things when we talk about, the biggest health issues in America. That's going to be diabetes. It's going to be insulin resistance. And what happens when you have insulin resistance is your body struggles to filter and metabolize sugar the way that it's supposed to. So then what happens is that sugar hits the bloodstream. And when you have a lot of sugar in your bloodstream, high blood sugar, this leads to diabetes. This leads to different mental health issues like dementia, Alzheimer's. Like, they're starting to call the dementia and Alzheimer's and other mental illnesses, they're starting to call it type 3 diabetes, because they're seeing the correlation between insulin resistance and mental disorders as we age. So one of the best ways to mitigate the effects of insulin resistance, or to get away from insulin, you want your body to be sensitive to insulin, because if it is, that means that your body's going to properly utilize sugar. And one of the best ways to make your body sensitive to insulin is to have more lean muscle, because your lean muscle acts as a storage, it acts as a house for the excess sugar that's in your body, and it uses it. It fuels you, it makes it much more efficient when you have sugar, like carbohydrates, for example. Sugar, when I say sugar, I'm referring to all food really, but especially carbohydrates. That's what we're referencing when I say sugar, not literally like, table sugar or candy or whatever. That is included, but we're mainly referring to carbohydrates, bread, pasta, fruit, stuff like that. You consume these things. And if you're somebody that's, you're under muscled and you're overweight, you have a high body fat percentage, you don't have a lot of lean muscle, you consume these things. And because your body has such an overload of sugar, and it doesn't know what to do with it, it doesn't have that storage space, it's just going to filter it out through the bloodstream. And once it hits your bloodstream, that's where the being pre-diabetic and then eventually diabetic. And then that's where those effects start to come in. But if you can put some lean muscle on your body, lean muscle is going to pull that excess sugar in, it's going to use it, and it's going to improve your body's insulin sensitivity, which takes you away from ever being close to being diabetic. Or if you currently are, or if you're approaching that point, your A1C levels are high, it takes you away from that because your muscles actually are utilizing the sugar that you're giving your body. So it literally will save you from one of the I think it's top 9 diabetes worldwide. It's like top 9 when it comes to top 9, top 10 when it comes to deaths. When it comes to what causes death, diabetes is like number 9 on the list. Heart disease is up there, and diabetes and heart disease are kind of one and the same. Heart disease is number 1, if I'm not mistaken. Heart disease is kind of just a culmination of a little bit of everything when it comes to bad health. Smoking, drinking, poor food, lack of movement. That's kind of like the whatever effect, the octa effect, whatever you want to call it, 8, 9, 10 different things. That's just somebody that paid zero attention to their health throughout their life. But even if you are somebody that has been relatively health conscious, you try to eat relatively healthy, you try to take walks and runs, and like you've heard the mantras of, oh, you need to do so and so amount of cardio or whatever, but you're in that phase where maybe you're not extremely heavy, but you don't really have a lot of muscle. You suffer just as much of a risk of developing these things like, sarcopenia, which is, basically loss of muscle mass and all the effects of that, a lower metabolism as a result of that, diabetes as a result of your body not really having a storage house for the carbohydrates that are coming through your body. Like, you run the risk of all of these things, even if you are at a relatively decent weight. If you don't have a lot of lean muscle on your body, meaning that if you're not around, for a guy, 15 to 20% body fat at the high end, and then for a woman about 25 to 30% at the high end. We like you a little bit lower, but if you're within those ranges as a man, 15 to 20%, and as a woman, 25 to 30%, then that means you've got a decent amount of lean muscle in your body. If you're approaching higher than that, so 20+% for men and then 30+% for women, if you're approaching higher than that, even if your weight is relatively normal, even if your weight is quote unquote good, we want to get you some more muscle on your body because we want the protective effects that muscle present to your body, and that's something that we really want to pay attention to. And I kind of did 2 in 1 there, talking about metabolism and then the blood sugar effect. And then number 3 is going to be improved joint and bone health. So muscle holds up the bones, the joints, all that. Muscle is the kind of the binding effect between bones. If you take muscle away from your body, the bones would immediately collapse. Muscle kind of ties, and think about it almost like zip ties. Think about maybe if you had, an accident in a vehicle and you just needed to kind of tie it up real quick to get it home, and you had some zip ties and you kind of tied it together, and you realize this little bitty zip tie can hold down an entire hood of a car or a trunk of a car or a door or whatever the case may be. That's kind of what muscle is like. And you don't need a whole lot of it, but muscle holds together these big bones that we got in our body that are pivotal, that are vital for our, walking movements or running or jumping, all this stuff. Tendons and ligaments and joints are the same way. Muscle kind of holds and ties all those together. It keeps all of those things in place. So this is one of the biggest reasons that as we get older, we start to develop back issues, knee issues, shoulder issues, all these different things, because as those muscles get wear and tear on them, as they get weaker and more brittle and more so do our bones, so do our joints, so do our ligaments, so do our tendons. That's why you deal with stuff at 35, 45, 55, 65, 20. I'm 27, and I've had things here and there that happen that I've had to go back and say, hey, let's make sure that we fortify, these areas around this ligament, around this joint, around this tendon, so that this doesn't happen again. You have to use muscle to fortify the structures. The bones are extremely important, but they're also extremely brittle on their own, because without lean muscle tying them together and holding them tight and kind of using or building a cushion around that muscle, now those bones rely strictly on the tendons, the joints, the ligaments, which are relatively weak. If without the existence of lean muscle, those joints, tendons, and ligaments are relatively weak. Lean muscle holds everything together. And this is why you want to focus on it, because lean muscle actually increases your bone density. Lean muscle increases your bone density, and your bone density is increased through strength training. So strength training builds the muscle, and then the muscle fortifies and protects your bones. But then the strength training also builds stronger bones, which is one of the most vital things that you can do as you get older. That's my biggest thing for you guys. Like, if you want to be, we're talking about prime performance, peak condition. We're talking about feeling great all the time. You can't think about today. You have to be able to think about 5 years, 10 years, 25 years down the line, and then do the things that the version of you that's 25 years older needs to do. Like I said, I'm 27 right now. 25 years from now, I'm going to be 52. How I'm training, what I'm doing right now is in an effort to where I can still do all these same things at 52. Like, that's the mission, that's the purpose, that's the goal, is to do all of these things at 52 years old. So, and then once I'm at 52, I assess and I say, hey, I want to be doing this and that at 72. And I want to be doing this and that at 92. And everything that I do is in an effort to get that done. And that means that at 27, I have to focus on my bone strength. At 37, I have to focus on it, because what happens is, as we get older, as we age, our likelihood that we're going to mess something up goes up, especially if you're under muscled and if you're over fat. You are going to have these issues where, let's say you freeze a shoulder and now you can't move your shoulder, and now let's say you're 46 and your shoulder is completely out of commission. By 48, you won't even be able to hold your arm all the way up overhead. So now, for the rest of your life, you can't bring your arm up over your head. How much do you think that's going to impact your quality of life? And then how much do you think that's going to impact your subsequent muscles? If you can't do this, not only it started off with the shoulder, but because you can't do this, that means you don't get a full stretch of the lat. And when you don't get a full stretch of the lat, guess what? That's going to tighten up, and it's going to shrivel up, and it's going to atrophy. And guess what happens when that happens? Your core is going to take over. So now you're going to start developing different core strength issues as a result. It's an entire chain. Your body is an entire chain. And if one thing is messed up, it's going to lead to another thing, and then another thing, and then another thing, until you get to the point where you're 50, 60, and it's like nothing on your body works properly. You're always out of commission. You're injured. And when we're injured and we're out of commission and we don't feel like moving because everything hurts, this is where diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, Alzheimer's, all these different things start to come into play, because we just have not taken care of our body enough. We have not fortified our body enough with lean muscle to where our body is able to perform the way that it needs to. A body in motion stays in motion. A mind in motion stays in motion. One of the best things that you can do for your mind is build muscle, because if you have that lean muscle, if you have that fortification around your bones, joints, ligaments, tendons, you're less likely to get hurt. You're going to be able to do more. You're going to be able to move more. And when you move more, that's part of the central nervous system that actually activates the brain, and it allows your brain to stay sharp. One of the best things, a lot of people do like brain exercises like crossword puzzles and stuff like that, and that stuff has value, but a lot of studies have shown that movement is much more valuable for the brain than doing actual brain work. Reason being is because, like I said, when you're moving, when you're strength training, the central nervous system is activated, the nervous system that's connected directly to the brain. And then also the mechanisms and the processes behind doing let's say you're doing a bench press. The process of pushing the bar up, bringing it down, focusing on that, breathing throughout that motion, bracing your core, all these different things, like your brain is subconsciously doing all these things so it keeps it sharp. When you stop doing these things, your brain loses the sharpness and the ability to do those things. And that's why you see the cognitive decline along with the physical decline. Very rarely will you see somebody, in their older age, let's talk about, maybe 60 plus. Very rarely will you see somebody that's in very poor physical shape, but in great mental health. Great mental shape. It's typically one and the same. If somebody is in poor mental health or poor physical shape, they're going to be in poor mental shape. If they're in pretty good physical shape, they're going to be in good to great mental shape because of the protective properties of whatever it is that they're doing. Whether they're going on a daily walk, whether they're doing stretches for 10, 15 minutes, they're eating relatively healthy, whatever the case may be, they're doing what's required for their body to maintain at least a minimum amount of muscle so that they can perform those specific tasks. But as soon as you stop performing those tasks and doing those things, that's where you're going to see the protective effects of lean muscle go away. And that's the exact opposite of what we want. So the reasons that building lean muscle are the fountain of youth is because it increases your metabolism, which helps you drop fat faster and keep it off for the long term, which keeps your body fat percentage at a healthy place, which is great for all of your organs. It's great for the processes in your body. It's great for your look. Obviously, when we talk about fountain of youth, we're talking about look as well. Your clothes fit, your energy levels, all that good stuff are going to be improved by having lean muscle. Second thing is it helps you stay away from diabetes. Or it helps you get away from it if it's currently something that you're dealing with. It helps you reverse it if it's something that you're dealing with. You put more lean muscle in your body becomes better at metabolizing sugar, and you stay away from a lot of those, the effects of insulin resistance that build up as a result of being under muscled. And then number 3 is it fortifies and protects the bones, ligaments, joints, and tendons, which allows your body to stay healthy and upright and able-bodied. That allows you to go salsa dancing with your wife or husband well into your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. It allows you to get on the floor and play with your grandkids. It allows you to go on a hike with your family. It allows you to be able to walk through Disneyland without pain and without having to stop 5 or 10 times because your knees hurt or your back hurts or your hips hurt or you're just so tired. It allows you the freedom to live the life that you truly want to live for as long as you truly want to live it. So that's why muscle is the fountain of youth. And that's why I recommend it as a PSA to everybody listening or watching, if you're watching on YouTube, to start strength training. Minimum 2 days a week. If you're going to train 2 days a week, hit every muscle in your body. All you got to do is one time. You only got to do one. You don't have to train like a bodybuilder. You don't have to do anything insane. Hit every muscle group in your body at least one time per workout, twice a week. If you could work out 3 days a week and hit all of them 3 times, that would be absolutely perfect. Have some type of stretching and mobility routine as well, because that also is a part of strength training. Having your body mobile and flexible is extremely, extremely important. That plus actually building up and maintaining the muscle with a high protein diet, healthy foods, whole, minimally processed foods, consistent movement, weightlifting, strength training, that kind of combination of things is the literal fountain of youth. Better than anything you can find in any random spring, better than any supplement, better than any juice or pill or whatever somebody's trying to push to you. Best thing that you can do for your body is build and preserve lean muscle. So that's it, squad. Hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this conversation. If you did, you'll absolutely love the Friday newsletters that we send out, kind of breaking down the mechanics behind how to get these things done that I just talked about. Just click the first link in the description of the podcast or the YouTube, and I'll make sure that you get it. And then also, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, you know what? I'm tired of saying back in the day. I'm tired of saying that, well, when I was in high school, I did this, or when I was in college, I felt this way, or I was a size this during this time. If you're tired of saying that, if you're tired of looking back at your prime and your peak and your past self, and you want today and the next 5 years and the next 10 years from now to be part of your prime years, part of your peak years, part of your years where you feel absolutely amazing, where you look absolutely amazing, take our transformation quiz. That'll be the second link down in the description. Let us know what you got going on, and we'll create a tailored game plan to get you in prime and peak position and feeling better than you felt in a long, long time. So that's it. That's all. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on so that you don't miss the next upload. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.